Alex, honestly, here's what I'm gonna say, Alex. I'm gonna say that you're back on the podcast, and yeah, okay, you're a celebrity, all right, we get it. You won all these awards, super famous
This
at
is
Whiskey
how we start this
Hotels,
podcast, with a
and
bang.
here's what I want to say, Alex. You never talk to me anymore, and all I want to say is that I want you to be a little bit kinder to me. Um, and we have Mike and Darren from Morrison on here. We're gonna drink their fantastic whiskey. We're gonna drink your fantastic whiskey as well, Alex, and we're gonna have a good time. But all I want to say is this: I missed you. I'm glad you're on the podcast, but just be a little nicer. That's all I'm saying. I
Fair
You
enough.
got,
I look
you
I
got
look
so
through my
easily
DMs.
replaced.
I look through my DMs all the time, and I get a lot of them. And I'm always like, Alex, I hope you're here. I hope you're here. And there's never one. And it's okay. I know you're busy, but it's great to see you, Alex, Mike, and Darren. It's great to meet you guys. You guys sent us 4 bottles of your whiskey that we're gonna drink, and
Alex is instantly regretting this right now.
I want you guys to explain who you are, what you're about, because you'll do it a lot better than I can.
No worries, but I love the little intro there, and Alex, yeah, he's got a fair point too. So you be kind, huh?
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Looking after you, brother.
Oh, yes.
Look, yeah, no, first of all, thank you for allowing us to come on. I think we follow your podcast, and Alex introduced us to Bourbon with Friends, and yeah, obviously very entertaining to say the least.
I'm just the facilitator here. That's it. I'm just the facilitator.
Yeah, so if you get into trouble, it's all Alex's fault. But really quickly, to give you
That's
just
how a lot of
bit
our lives on Instagrams have gone too, so it's no big deal.
But we've yeah, so thank you. I'm Mike, so I work for Morris. I work in the marketing team for Morris Whiskey, and we've got Darren, our head distiller, who's actually down at our distillery down in Rutherglen, Victoria, which is very regional. So the reception's always not perfect down there. So he drops out. It's we can blame it on the country. But look, and so look, yeah, we're obviously thanks again for letting us join your show. Morris is relatively a new whiskey from Australia, but also quite an old whiskey. So we can go in a little bit about the story. But we've just recently launched in the States too, so it's great timing to be able to talk to you guys about our whiskey and your listeners. And we're in about 11 different states now. We launched last year, so ideally, that you'll be able to get some of our whiskeys over there. So really quickly, Morris Whiskey is we started making whiskey in about 2017, so relatively new. But the brand itself, Morris, has been making fortified wine since 1859. So fortified wine is ports and sherries and those types of products. So it's one of Australia's oldest winemakers and probably the most awarded winemakers in fortified wine. So we've got a great heritage of winemaking in terms of barrel aging, really a lot of knowledge around how to create flavour and how that flavour from the wine barrels imparts into our whiskey. And the cool thing is we've been working with the Morris family, so 6 generations since 1859. It was the brand started in 1859 when George Morris sold his horse to fund a winery. We still work with 6th generation family now, so they're still in the winery making wine, ports and sherries and so forth, and Darren works pretty much next to them every day. So it's a pretty cool little story, and the fact that we have access to some of these wine barrels, some of those barrels are over 100 years of age, is really cool as well. So
that's awesome.
yeah, you can imagine some of the flavors and it's a real nice story of bringing these really ancient crafts in winemaking and fusing it together with modern whiskey making. And probably the only other thing I'll say that's quite unique about our story is that we distill in a hybrid copper pot still that was installed in the 1930s. And the still was originally installed to make
wow, so it's the same age as Alex. That's amazing.
Yeah, there you go, Alex. Yeah. So it's quite a unique still. So it's been around since the 30s, and we modified it in about 2016 to start making single malt whiskey. And nowhere else in the world can really talk to that story, and particularly the history of the wine making. And all our whiskey uses our own barrels. So it's whereas other whiskey makers might actually bring in wine barrels or kind of finishing barrels, everything is done in house.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool story, and look, we're looking to take this kind of idea of a new generation of Australian whiskey to the world. There's a few Australian whiskies that, and I might let even Alex. I mean, Alex knows the Australian market for whiskey very, very well, and it's really changed over the last 5 to 10 years.
Alex drinks Jack Daniels. She doesn't know shit.
Keep them coming. My turn to talk will come.
I love how Connor's just sitting over here, just be like, "You think this is good? Just wait till it's my turn." That little grin on his face. He doesn't grin like that until there's just singers coming. So you just better buckle up.
Well, I mean, that's how Alex and I we met along the way. In terms of Alex has obviously got a great passion for Australian whiskey, and it's pretty a new industry, isn't it? Really, Alex. Only in the last 20 or 30 years we're making whiskey.
Yeah, 35 years.
Oh, there you go, 35 years.
Yeah. So,
Alex is a big deal in Australia whiskey. She can never return her friends' DMs.
Very busy.
Never.
Oh, fuck. All right.
I thought you guys were engaged at one point. Like there was a proposal on a live. It is shared. Alex said yes, and now she doesn't even return Connor's. Actually, that's very much like they're already married. So congratulations,
Well,
Connor.
mate,
you're getting a full.
I never got the ring in the post, so.
Actually, he said he wanted to go to Australia and take you on a proper date and do it on the beach, and you never gave him a date for that to happen.
Oh shit!
We
Anyway.
We haven't even started drinking yet.
One of the common themes I've seen in all of, I'm going to call it our bullshit, which is our podcasts, our lives that I've done with you guys, is that how do we get Australian whiskey? And what was super exciting is when I found out that Morris was over and distributing in the States, one of the first things I did was contact Paul and contact Mike and go, right, we need to get some whiskey over to these guys. So I believe you got 4 bottles sent over of some really exciting stuff.
Here, look, we're gonna I'll cuddle with them real quick, and you.
Have you drank much? Do you guys know much about Australian whiskey? Have you drank? Well,
I've had one sample of Australian whiskey before. Here you go. Look at this.
Well, that's the smoke one. There you go.
That's the one I'm looking for.
So what would
you
you
put them back in order?
So Starwood, you probably familiar with that
Starwood,
brand?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're probably, I mean, similar space to us in terms of pricing and single malt. They probably have a bit more of a new age kind of vibe going on. They're out of out of the city of Melbourne, where we're kind of more rural. So we're based out kind of in the country, in the wine regions as well. So quite a different kind of positioning we have with those guys. But I would say Starwood are the ones who have really pioneered Australian whiskey, and there's a lot of other craft players that sit behind Starwood as well. So really thriving kind of local market, but we haven't really cracked the States. And yeah, I mean, obviously you guys are spoiled for choice in Kentucky and the States with all your bourbon. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you feel like or what you think of these Australian whiskies.
Mike,
should we crack one?
I know we haven't let Darren talk yet, but I already cracked and poured. I've cracked, poured, nosed, and tasted.
Wait for the accent.
Yeah.
You see, so
no, wait for the accent. So Darren, yeah, I'll let you go, Darren.
When I talk, if anybody needs a translator, I will stop, and we can get it translated if they want. If they want me to talk real proper, I could talk like that, but...
So it's safe to say, Darren, you're not from Australia.
He's not from Australia.
No,
I actually thought I was blending in quite well.
By being silent.
By being silent.
Are you Irish?
No, Northern English.
Are you Irish?
Northern English, but I lived in Ireland.
Like where in
Yorkshire, so a place called Leeds in England.
Oh, okay.
Yorkshire.
And then I spent
Gotcha.
10 years in Ireland, 3 years in the States. Did a lot of work down in Africa, Russia. Did some work in South America, so my accent is absolutely all over the place.
Yeah, I could see Irish, almost like a little bit of Southern Scotland, Northern England, but like it's a little bit of the twangy of Ireland you get in there, but you say things that remind me of Scotland and also England, so which is fine. Mate, I've been there. I've been to the UK 25 times. I'm going again in 8 or 9 days. I won't need a translator. Connor might need one, but
that's excellent.
Right, are we cracking the signature, guys?
Yeah, so I already did. We're cracking the signature. I've already cracked it. nosed it and drank it, and I hate all of you because now I have to buy more whiskey.
Excellent.
Darren,
So-
do you want to take us through the signature?
Because this
Yes,
shit
certainly.
is delicious.
So, as Mike said, about 2016, the Morris Winery was up for sale because it was going to be closed down, and we saved it. And we got down there, we found all these excellent barrels for making whiskey, which have been used for making fortified wine. What we did is we employed a couple of experts, and we brought a barrel expert over from Scotland who helped us rejuvenate French and American wine barrels into whiskey barrels. And we started distilling on the 1933 hybrid pot still. Now, I'm very lucky. This was the reason I actually was in Australia, was it was my last inhabited continent I had not made booze on. So I still haven't made booze on Antarctica, but I've got people slightly drunk everywhere else in the world.
If you,
So-
I'm going to tell you right now, Antarctica whiskey would sell for some freaking dollars. Let me tell you that.
Well,
'Cause that
yeah.
space whiskey is going for like 75K. Jesus.
That's what we
That's a
need.
good one. Plenty of ice to have with
Antarctica
it.
is number one on my bucket list, by the way.
Yes, it's my 60th birthday. I've been promised to go there with an home brew kit. And then I can say I've brewed in Antarctica.
Hell yes, that's really cool.
Save me a sample, please.
Will
So
do.
Darren, talk to us about where you've made booze and who you've made booze for, and what your background is in booze
Okay,
and getting
so
people drunk.
I've literally made booze, like I said, every continent. I've worked for some of the biggest in the world and some of the smallest in the world. I spent 3 years troubleshooting distilleries and breweries all over Russia, Africa, everything sub-Sahara. People don't realize everything sub-Sahara in Africa is very Christian, so drink a lot of booze. South
Catholic.
America, did Venezuela, which was interesting to say the least. So yeah, I've been in some strange places making lots of different alcohols. One I have never worked on probably now is still tequila. That's the one I haven't made, but most
That's
other
all right.
things I've
Tequila
had a go
sucks.
at. So
It's all
yeah,
right.
but most other things, wine, beer, whiskies, bourbons, you name it, I've worked on them.
Alex, if that country song didn't play in your brain, I'm very disappointed because it definitely started playing in mine. Little Big Town just started playing when he said it. The wine, the beer, the whiskey.
No, he said tequila, and I went straight to tequila makes her clothes fall off. So
That's because you're a pervert and it makes your clothes fall off. So,
So yeah,
I don't know that from experience. I just know that from the live shut off when her top started coming off. We're like, damn it. No, just kidding.
God,
It's a
that never
joke.
happened.
It never happened. It was just Connor's dreams. Anyway, this is amazing. I really like this.
so
It's 88 proof, and I'm actually I'm excited. I'm not drinking 140 proof again.
Yeah.
Because I think I would
Nice.
die if I had to drink a whole nother like 4 or 5. This is delicious. I
Thank you.
really like this. And to be honest with you, if you blind tasted this with something that's good from Scotland, I don't think you would know that this isn't Scotch.
and
I think this is a very good representation of that.
And that's strange because although we brought an expert down from Scotland and I worked with him closely on the recipes, etc., to start with, the barrel maturation was done in all these barrels. It then comes out and I vat it together. And I vatted this one together because I quite like easy to drink whiskey as well as some challenge. So you want something you can actually sip, which doesn't beat you up on the way down sometimes.
And this is
We didn't ever though, sorry, Mike, we didn't ever
That's right.
though aim to make a Scotch whiskey. It just tastes excellent. We wanted to be.
It tastes like a blended Scotch, not a straight single malt. It tastes like a blend.
yeah, right. Yeah.
We wanted
So
to
it's
be.
definitely, I was just going to say, it's definitely what we made it to what Darren was saying, more approachable. Like this is like, in terms of pricing, it's just sub $60 US. But going back to the difference between Australia and Scotland, I mean, this is, we don't have an age statement, but this is about 3 to 5 years old. But the temperatures that where Darren's based down in Rutherglen, we get, I think like 114 degrees Fahrenheit in summer, down to almost sub, zero.
Down to about
temperature.
28.
Yeah, there you go. So the fluctuations in temperature, you get a lot of aging, a lot of the sort of interaction with the wood. So you get a lot of more of a mature spirit a lot quicker. than say in Scotland where you have quite mild temperatures. So you do get a lot of flavour in a shorter amount of time in some of these Australian whiskies.
We've
So a lot
talked
of,
about
like-
that previously
Yeah.
on the podcast, that Australia seems to be able to age a lot quicker purely because of that expansion of temperatures. That you do get that interaction with the wood, that we can be producing whiskies just as good as far as I see, like 12-year-olds in 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So with this whiskey, I actually think it is more of an old world style whiskey rather than a lot of Australian whiskies that are coming out that are super new world. I know Dominic Roscoe coined that new world, old world whiskey term, but I consider this more old world whiskey. And I do put that down to, I think it's literally the maturations in the casks that we have, because Morris has this amazing access to these fortified barrels that are older, that have actually had the time in these conditions, that we are sort of accessing history that we don't have a lot here in Australia. So that's where I think that this comes in as more old world whiskey than new world, say like Starwood, which is using Australian wine barrels rather than fortifieds. You're actually seeing more of that old world flavour profile, which is where you brought in the Scotch style, Paul. That I think that you're getting a lot more of that old world feeling.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
definitely
great
it tastes a lot like a lowland, almost like a lowland Scotch.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
That's
call.
a great compliment that you're comparing us to Scotch. I literally set off. I just wanted to be the best Australian I could be, and that's turned out to be quite a Scotch-like
The best
whiskey.
Australian, Northern England, Irish,
Yeah.
African,
Soon to
Russian,
be Antarctica.
soon to be
Antarctica.
Antarctican that you could be, right? Best. You might hold a record, mate, for the most places making whiskey, though. I don't know.
What do you think,
call the
Connor?
Guinness Book of World Records?
I worked for them once.
You've got an
Well,
in, mate.
shit.
Connor?
It's fantastic. I love it. It does. I thought the same as Paul. It did remind me of a Scotch in a certain way. There was some Scotches we drank while in Isla that had a little subtle smokiness, but were more delicate in nature, not overpowering with a smoke. And this kind of reminds me more of that, of like, because I do get throughout the entire palate, like a little bit of a subtle smokiness that's present throughout the entire thing. And it just brought me back as soon as I sipped it for the first time to sitting in Isla, looking, over the ocean and drinking some Isla Scotch. So it's not necessarily a smoky whiskey, but it did bring me back there immediately. So I agree with Paul when he said that. But it's I wasn't sure what to expect, and I think that, like, if you were to tell me a whiskey, like what would a whiskey taste like that's aged, in wine casks, and this is on the nose of what I would expect.
There's zero peat in it, though. I need to make that clear for any of the Americans out there that are anti-peat. When we talk smokiness, it's definitely not a peated whiskey.
Yeah,
But you're right though, Connor. In all our whiskies, there is a subtle, like sort of charcoal sort of smokiness to it, but it's really subtle. Particularly on this one, it's subtle. I'm surprised you picked it up, but then on some of the other ones, you'll pick it up even more so. But it is, we feel that kind of gives it a bit of body to it as well, and just a little bit more to
And
it
it's
than
a
just
trait.
whiskey.
It's a trait coming from the casks, and with the casks being done in house through the cooperage, we get them very, very fresh.
Yeah, we have our own in Cooper, so he repurposed all our barrels. So we have, specific toasting regime to help, get the right optimal kind of level of char for aging in these conditions. So, there's a bit of science behind it as well. Obviously, it's not just, random cask
Not
selection.
just thrown together, really?
I let Darren do all that shit. I don't.
Yeah. Mike thinks you just sign a piece of paper and it's done.
I just make it taste good. Just make it taste fucking good.
That's it. Oh, you dropped the first F-bomb, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
It's free
Fuck,
for all
it's
now,
okay, it's
guys.
fine. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
The brand guy said it, so anyone can say it now.
All right, what's the next one we're having, Darren?
So next one, I thought we'd move on to the muscat because that again is available in the US. So what I actually do with the muscat is you've got the signature, which has been vatted together. Now I use the term vatted because obviously it's not single casks, but it's not a blend. So it's casks put together, which gives us the overall whiskey for that first signature. I then take that whiskey at its finished age and I put it back into muscat cask. So for information, muscat is a fortified wine. It's made from the brown muscat grape, and it's been made in Australia really since the first days, 1800s onwards. It's actually our wine here. We've got a fabulous winemaker down here, and we've actually won best in the world. Now, that wine can stay in these casks for 20, 30, 40 years. We've actually got some wine which was put in the casks in the 1930s. So before the war, this wine was made and put into casks.
Damn.
So you can imagine those casks have taken all that flavour. We put this whiskey back into those casks and we leave it to finish. And what you'll find on the muscat is it's picked up some of those flavours. So that signature has rounded a little bit more. It's picked up some dried fruit. It's picked up a little bit of prunes, a little bit of sultana. It's picked up a little bit of oakiness. And what you actually will find is if you taste the muscat wine, a lot of people describe it as Christmas cake in a glass. So it's literally like drinking Christmas cake. And those flavours have come out of the wood back into that spirit because of our temperatures.
So what I was gonna say,
Reminds me
okay. Well, actually, you say yours first, Paul, and I'm gonna see if we're thinking the same wavelength.
what this reminds me of is a Bunnahabhain finished barrel.
No, that's not what I was thinking of. But I can see what you're.
What it reminds me of.
I can see what you're thinking of though, because I remember drinking that.
The one that finished in their port barrel.
Yeah, I remember drinking. That was a day. That was a day.
That was also a day.
This reminds me, and this is going to be
find my Bunnahabhain that was from the distillery. Go on.
this is a high compliment. Paul knows this because this is one of my favorite whiskeys. This reminds me of like a little bit of a less spicy, almost intensified fruit Midwinter Night's Dram, which is distilled by High West Distillery in Park City, Utah, which is probably like top 5 favorite whiskeys for me. It's a rye whiskey, and this brings out more of the dark dried fruit molasses flavors, but kind of yields back on a little bit of the spice of that rye spice, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because
It's fucking delicious.
the signature's kind of more the everyday drinking one, where this one is probably a little bit after dinner, or not as much through the week, but it's priced around $89 US. This one, it's available in the US.
Oh, the next cold, because we have like a few cold days left. The next cold day, this is going with a fire and a cigar.
This is great. Sitting around a fire. I think for us, I mean, it's not too hot either. It's only 88. This one is
96 proof.
90. Yeah. So it's still not as hot as some of the single barrel stuff. It sounds like you've been drinking today. But I think you get a lot.
Don't worry, it's still in my belly though.
Oh, you just got called out, boys.
Oh, dear God.
Did I get called out?
Yeah.
I don't think I got called out.
Yeah, back-to-back podcast, mate. You were drinking.
I know. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
know.
I'll
I didn't know
happily-
that.
Oh my God! I'm just drinking I have the 7th, 8th, 9th, or wait a minute, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th bottles over here that I got for free that I'm drinking on a podcast. Oh my God!
It's their job. Yeah, I get it. You're working hard today. But
Is it a job though?
Drinking is never a job.
Drinking is
Actually,
never a job.
sometimes it is. I won't lie. When we were doing the barrel pick, some of it felt like work. Because when we did 2 barrel picks in 2 days, all at barrel strength, it felt like work. Connor went to bed at like 9:30.
How was the reflux the next day?
Come on, we don't have a gag reflex. Oh, never mind. You're
No,
talking
reflux.
about acid reflux. Oh, sorry. No, that was fine too.
So anyway,
Is Alex with me? So I had I mean, you would have known this if you had answered my DM, but I had a bit of a tummy issue a few weeks ago, and I had to stop taking my Metamucil, right? Which I don't know if you'll have Metamucil in Australia, but it's basically a
We
fiber.
have it.
This
Yeah.
is an ongoing joke with
The
Connor.
global
That's his
problem.
favorite thing.
Ongoing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Actually,
and
we
I had to
actually
stop
reached out to
taking it.
Metamucil to sponsor us.
Yeah.
I had to stop taking it because I think I had a stomach bug. I had bad tummy aches, and I was expecting to be struggling in Colorado, but no, I was fine. So to answer your acid reflux question, negative. But I also disagree with Paul, and never at 1 second felt like work at all. Not to me. At least.
It's because you went to bed
Some
at
of the-
9:30.
Some of the spirits judging I've done, you've had like 80 spirits lined up in front of you. And that's where it gets a little bit like,
That's
I
hard.
can't do anymore. And especially if you end up in the cast strength category, which is something that I always opt out for. Like, it's like, I'll do it, but I prefer not
Chicken
to go
shit.
cast strength.
Oh,
No, come on. I think as you and I have had this fight before, the cast strength category for me, your palate is fucking done after like 15, 20.
It's torched.
It is. So
I don't like see, nights like tonight are bad because now I just want to go outside and just drink until like 1 a.m. and I'm like, it's Monday, guys. What the fuck are you? Can't do that.
yeah.
The
And,
hardest thing, the hardest thing I ever did, you've just mentioned it when you said you were going to have a cigar without whiskey. And as a reformed smoker who knows if I have one smoke, I will be smoking 50 a day again. I had to do a cigar and whiskey tasting.
In Atlanta last
And
year.
the smoke was down here somewhere on my head. And if somebody had offered me a cigar at that point, I would have eaten it. Never mind smoked it.
Yeah, you guys do your whiskey cigar tastings pretty well. That's
I love cigars with whiskey. I don't smoke except when I drink whiskey.
No, if I had
Well,
one
it's not a
cigar, I
smoking
would be
whiskey
back on the
pretty well.
cigarettes.
Yeah. Oh, I love cigars. I think they're one of the greatest pairings, apart from like chocolate and cheese with whiskey. Cigars are phenomenal with whiskey. So
You know what else goes really good with whiskey? Answering Connor's DMs.
and the bourbon ball.
Yeah, well, that too. So that way, you're the only date Connor said he's ever wanted to take to the bourbon ball.
you lucky girl you are.
I'm so lucky.
Oh dear.
He just said he just wants to take his princess to a ball.
Queen. Thank you, Queen.
Yeah, when you say
Been
that,
through
then I
this.
think of Queen Latifah, and then I just don't see you and Queen Latifah
Yeah,
being like vibing very well.
Oh dear. So
Disney
the
has
whiskey.
made princesses way better than the evil queens. All right.
Oh dear.
One of the first things you notice when you pour this whiskey in the glass, but compared to the signature, is the viscosity of it.
Yeah.
It is
There's
instantly
those big
thicker.
fucking words.
Oh, sorry.
I think
No,
that's
I-
yeah.
I
that's-
don't
I thought this
disagree
was a
with you.
whiskey podcast.
It is. No, I don't disagree with you. It's definitely got more of a full mouthfeel than the other one. I think the signature is more crisp, and this one's definitely more. It's more of an oily whiskey.
Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit
That's
sticky.
yeah. I mean, the age of the musket barrels, it's up to 20 years old, these musket barrels that they've been finished in. So you've got a lot higher density of sugar and some of those real raisin notes. It's the fruit notes as well. So the color as well, if you compare the color between the two, a lot more sort of golden, brassy sort of tones to it than signature.
One of the interesting things is as well, when you make a fortified wine, you're not actually allowed to add sugar. So all the sugar in a fortified wine comes from the grape in the year of harvest.
Mhm.
So when you talk about that wine being there for 20 years, that if we've got 20-year-old stock today, that grape and sugar grew in 2020.
Yeah.
So
Can we-
2000. So
2000.
yeah,
2003.
We're doing the smoked musket next, right? That's the next one.
No, Torquay.
no,
No,
go to the
take
Torquay
it.
first.
We'll
Man.
do this one next.
Okay.
So this one, it's not available in the US. We're trying to get our importer to agree to send it over. So this one is an exclusive that we did in Australia last year. It sold out almost immediately. It won double gold at San Fran. It's won a couple of other golds.
Was the only non-Scotch to win the Masters?
Yeah, won a Masters at the World Whiskey Awards as well.
Oh,
so,
here we
Nobody
go.
wants to. Nobody wants to know what I'm getting on the nose on this.
So this one, if you
You're
know
gonna
what,
laugh.
should we
Chicken
ask?
nuggets.
No. Oh, what?
It's
I don't know if
Now
I'm
we
just
know
fat.
how much I love chicken nuggets, so
I don't
I'm
know if
I'm a
I'm
chicken
fat
nuggets
and-
connoisseur.
Listen, I don't know if I'm just fat and fucking hungry right now, but I don't know why I get like a faint hint of chicken
Did
nuggets.
you wash your glass?
No, this is a fresh one, mate. It's fresh.
I absolutely
Um,
get 0 chicken nuggets.
I'll let
Well, then you're
Darren
not
talk
a chicken
about.
nugget connoisseur.
I'll let
I am.
Darren talk about the whiskey, but Tokay is traditionally a Hungarian sort of
me.
sweet dessert wine. And we make our own Tokay here in Australia. So all these whiskies have been barreled in Morris Tokay barrels. And Darren, I mean, if you want to tell the guys kind of how you came up with this one and what you're picking
Yeah.
up on the nose. And
This is my favourite, by the way.
So Muscat, obviously, as I explained, was a fortified wine made from brown Muscat grapes. This one is actually made from a grape called the Muscadel. So it's a little bit finer. It's actually a white wine grape. So you get a white fortified wine, which actually isn't white by the time it's aged for 20 years in a barrel, but it is actually a white wine. So the flavours are a little bit more delicate. So what I actually did here is when I was batting the whiskies together, I looked for some really fine spirit so that those muscadel notes can show through the spirit. And we left it in the Tokay barrels and we kept sampling it and it just came together really nicely. Sometimes you just have happy things happen, and this was one of those happy things.
I love that.
Love happy accidents.
Like Alex replying to Connor's DMs.
All right.
Yeah, happy accident.
Give it a rest. P.S. I just power slid into his DMs just then and he hasn't even responded to me. So come on.
Just now,
Guess
we're on
what?
a show, Alex.
Yeah,
Professional.
listen.
So yeah, a little bit
Love
finer, a
those.
little bit smoother. Somewhere between, I always say it's somewhere between the signature and the muscat. But you've got those sweeter flavours.
This one's definitely smokier to me. It's definitely got a little bit more sweet. You could think that this is a peated whiskey.
You reckon?
It's got you could go on a light peat, very lightly
Mhm.
peated, because it's got a
What-
smoky flavor to it.
And
What I
think that-
love is the change in terminology. Instead of smokiness, like leather and tobacco is more of a
Yeah.
flavor profile of it, if that makes sense. Because that's where, I mean, this is super sweet to me.
No,
and
it's very good. I think peated whiskey is sweet now, so that's also
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely get it. It's
borderline
definitely more.
alcoholic, guys.
it could be simply because I've picked the finer spirit, so the muscadel notes from the Tokay show through, that the char from the barrel is showing a little
Yeah.
bit more to you.
Yeah.
Is it,
It's
yeah, the
not
Tokay,
heavy.
yeah.
It's not like a normal peated scotch. But if you
Yeah.
let me rephrase that. If you had someone who was drinking this and maybe didn't drink a lot of smoky whiskey, they might think that this is a peated scotch. It doesn't hit you. It's not overpowering, but there is a smoky element to it, but it is very good.
Yeah, it's not
I
one
mean,
of the
right.
heavily peated islas.
Right
No.
now, I want you to go get a peated off your back bar and compare it, and there'll be like 0 peat in it, as far as I'm concerned, Paul.
Do you want me to just open something because it's the closest thing that I have?
Is
Bamore's like not heavily peated.
Well, I think
Bulmore's the
there's
heaviest peated whiskey out
It's
there.
not.
It's the
Optimal
heavy-
from Brookladdy is.
No,
Lefroy
on Isla,
is higher.
On Isla, hold on. On Isla,
Been
Bamore
there.
is the heavy, yeah, and they have the most peat of any Isla Scotch.
well, drink that after you finish the Morris because it'll
Yeah.
destroy your palate. But
Yeah.
I think
I've
the difference is
I've actually never opened this box and looked at the bottle.
I'm
It's the
actually
Aston
quite,
Martin edition that they gave me when I was over in Scotland.
I'm actually quite glad you've mentioned peat though, because there's a gentleman on this podcast who hates it.
I can't do it.
Oh.
Mike,
Yeah.
you weenie.
And
It's
it
different.
actually caused an argument. It really caused an argument between me and Mike.
I like smoke, and I love the way you express. Was it leather and tobacco?
That's
my
the way
jam.
I describe smoke
yeah,
in whiskey.
I'm not a big fan of that kind of medicinal iodine flavor. I do like smoke though,
But-
and what you're picking up in these whiskeys, there is that charred smoke flavor, or cigarettes and
That's barrel.
leather or whatever you want to call
Yep.
it. Whereas I kind of like that. I love that kind of the mixture of the sweet.
Smells like
and
Alex's
the
house.
But I think
this was the argument, wasn't it,
yeah,
Mike,
yeah,
about Pete?
And then
I love smoky whiskies. I love peaty whiskies.
Yeah.
And myself and Mike literally had this big argument because Mike doesn't like peat. And I said I would make him a smoky whiskey without using peat. Now, there's two reasons for that. Number one,
it's a segue, beautiful segue here.
We don't have a lot of peat in Australia. There is some coming through, but the flavour is still not being done great. And so I wanted something Australian. So what we actually did, unbeknownst to Mike, is I had some barrels near enough incinerated at the cooperage. And once they'd really overcharged them, as soon as they were cool enough, they put the ends in and sent them back to me, and I backfilled them with muscat whiskey. And what actually happened is it picked up all that acrid wood smoke and acrid char from the barrel, and we created the smoked muscat from it. Now, it was weird. For some barrels picked up lots of flavour, others picked up none, so we had to do some selection. I'm not sure I'll ever be allowed to do it again because it destroyed the barrels. But I won the argument, I think. It's very polarising, though. Now, when you taste the smoked muscat, don't think peat, don't think
so
Islay.
excited about.
Think smoked
Islay.
meats. Think
Can I?
Yeah. Oh,
barbecue.
not that. I was actually gonna say that this smells like a smoker.
Yes,
Like
100%.
there's a brisket and beef ribs, and I'm about to just be a fatty and eat like crazy.
Yeah.
So I can't believe we're talking so much about peated whiskey on an Australian whiskey podcast right now, because
It's not peated. None of this
it's not peated, right? The smoke is there, the leather, tobacco. Like, I need to say it's not peated. But what I
this
wanted
is
to just jump
education
in,
for people who maybe will try it and don't know.
so shut the fuck up and let me educate.
There's another shirt.
Even with peat is depending on where it comes from. So when you're talking about the iodine peat, Mike, you're talking about maritime peat. So when you have something like Lafroig or Ardbeg, that's where you're getting the medicinal and it's maritime peat. When you go to, say, Bruichladdich, who uses Highland peat, you're going to have a completely different style because of the landscape, because of where they are and what has the vegetation that's basically settled. Right. Even when you go into Highland Park, when they use the Orkney peat, and I've been there and I've cut the peat and been to every single peat bog I possibly could with all the big whiskey companies. It all depends on where the peat comes from. So Australia's peat is incredibly dry and almost not great with whiskey. I mean, I've got quite a few Australian peated whiskies on this back bar, but it's completely different. So what I'm saying is, if you don't like that medicinal peat in whiskey, try another one. Try some Highland Park, although that's quite maritime as well because it's an island. But Bruichladdich use mainland peat, and some other peated whiskies. Glendronach peat, it's fantastic, and it uses a mainland peat.
Good call. I might have to reassess. Is that
so when you go to Australia, the Australian peat is completely different as well. Now, on that note, none of this is peated. This is smoked, which is a completely different process. So
I'm trying to talk really long.
Let's do it. All right, I'll shut
up. On, Alex, I have one question before we move on, and don't laugh. Is there any peat in this whiskey?
Zero.
No peat. No peat.
I gotta say, I don't think I've ever.
Darren, we now need to do a peated whiskey for these guys. Who's
all I know? Yeah, Pete has been in this show a long time, and I don't know who the fuck he is.
Pete's going to slide in your DMs, I think, Connor, tonight.
So I'm answering a heartbeat. Giving Alex answering a heartbeat.
All I know is watching Connor just sit and smirk as Alex talks because he's so in love is just the most amazing thing to watch. You just watch him; he's just grinning every time Alex talks. He just smiles. Don't you feel bad just ignoring him for 6 months, Alex? What an asshole.
I haven't ignored him for 6 months. I've ignored everyone for 6 months. Just leave me alone. Let's talk whiskey. This
now you're not just Connor, you're everyone. Does that sting, Connor?
Yes, I've come out of retirement for you guys for this podcast. So let's drink some whiskey.
I agree. I want to say I don't think I've ever smelled a whiskey that smells like the one this smells like. This is
right.
This is totally like
my mouth just had an orgasm. Mm-mm.
I thought there was peat in there though.
Shut up.
Okay, the next
No, this
person.
tastes-
The next person that says Pete's got a slug of whiskey bottle, but no more Pete.
This
Zero
tastes
as
like-
of now.
Zero
This
peat.
tastes like a smoke. Like this almost tastes like a Texas smoke meat pit.
Yeah.
And I
Like
fucking
sitting
love
around
it.
a campfire. Yeah.
I'm getting
This is-
like there's flavor notes of this and like the spice aspect of it that tastes like the baking spices and then the smoke, which makes it almost like almost like a sweeter smoked meat. It's not peated. You can taste that. You definitely can see that this is more of a smoke. The palate is amazing because it's sweet and smoky, and this is a savory whiskey.
For me, it's like candied meat.
Okay, Alex,
Like
can I build on that?
Candied bacon.
Can I build on that? Because I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
go
say,
want bacon.
well, to me, I'm gonna blow your minds right now. But this isn't as stupid as whatever Paul said about chicken nuggets. That was really dumb. But this, to me, smells like if you were to smoke a root beer float. There's a lot of like a root beer barrel on here, like one of those candy root beers, and then you use that juice to put a scoop of vanilla ice cream in there, and then like you make like a smoked cocktail out of it. That's exactly like I have told myself, like, okay, when I do my podcast, I don't want to be overzealous and say this is the greatest or this is this or that. On any of the shows I've done, on the 200 plus episodes I've done on my
I'm just
podcast,
gonna fuck up bourbon with friends now.
this is probably like, if not number one, number two, or number three, like best noses on a whiskey I've ever had.
I agree.
And I'm not just saying that because Darren and Mike and especially Alex are on here. This, I can't, like, I want to like show people this, be like, smell this, because this is what I love about whiskey.
You want the podcast to be
It's-
scratch and sniff right now.
I wish it could be.
Ooh, sure.
Yeah.
I love that tasting note, Connor. If only I knew what a root beer was.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Sorry for the
What?
full Aussies here.
Maybe-
What's a
maybe-
root beer?
Maybe Connor doesn't want you in his DMs now.
What's root beer? I know what a float is. We call them spiders.
You serious?
Sarsaparilla.
Oh, like sarsaparilla.
Never had a root beer?
Google it.
Alex,
So Connor, if we
everyone
ever
on
meet,
planet Earth knows what the fuck a root beer is. Where do you live?
Mike, back me up here.
Oh, she lives in Australia. I don't know. I'm the.
Have you never had?
I
Have you had
understand
root
if
beer,
some.
Mike?
I like root beer. I don't like it, but
I
yeah.
understand if someone was just like, "Ah, yeah, that smells like Vegemite," and you're an American, you're like, "Don't know what the fuck that is, man."
Well, we don't have root beer here.
We don't have it here. I'll give you in defense.
I've been-
Alex, we don't
All
have
right, I'm sending you a case of A&W.
No, I'm just saying if Connor and I ever meet, the first date he's got to take me out on
For a
is
root beer
going
float.
for a
Yeah.
root beer float.
it. There you go.
And we'll compare it. I'll bring my little torch and I'll blaze up the ice cream and we'll compare it to this whiskey. He's broken. I broke him.
You don't know what a root beer is.
You just pictured what it's like to take Alex home with him after a date right there, because that was about to happen.
Stop.
What I was thinking of, Paul. You always bring it back to that.
Such a liar.
I'm just perplexed. You've never had a root, like the soda. It's a soda. Maybe you guys call it pop down there. I don't know.
No, we call it like soft drink.
Yeah. We don't have root beer here. We don't like. Yeah,
Wow.
we don't.
Wow.
That's what I love about these podcasts with the polarity between America and Australia.
Oh my god.
Mouthwash.
Oh,
What dentist were you going to, Darren?
yeah.
They give,
Mine was
that
like
makes a lot of
berry
sense.
floss and bubble gum and
they give
peppermint.
you root beer in the UK. Apparently.
We're not gonna make UK. We're not
Explains a
gonna
lot
make
about the teeth quality in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not gonna make teeth jokes. All right, I just did something really fun, and I haven't tried it, and I don't know if you all have ever tried it, but I think everybody should do it.
Oh, I
because
know
it's a fun
exactly.
little experiment. Connor knows
What did
exactly
you
what
do?
it is.
I'm not
I
gonna do
just
it.
blended all 4 of them together, equal parts.
Let's have a go at that one.
And I think you all should try it, because when this happens and we get at least 3 or 4, I'm the one that blends all of them together, equal parts, and tries what it is. And this is a very interesting thing. If the whiskey is as good as we think it is, the blend
So you're
is
making an
just as good.
infinity glass.
Yes. But the one thing that I've noticed in doing this through all the podcasts and all the shows and all the testing of this is a good brand. When you blend them together, when you drink it, it is very good.
No,
Connor,
what you
do
get
it, you
from
little
that probably.
asshole.
What you probably get when you do that
Holy
is
fuck,
you
that's
get
good.
a
That's good.
brand. You get a brand DNA.
Mhm.
So each whiskey will have like a DNA through all of its releases, which is where most of the time you can tell a whiskey's come from a distillery if you know that distillery well enough. So I think what you actually, I know it's like putting it all together and seeing how it tastes, but I think what you're potentially getting is a glass of the brand DNA.
That shit is delicious, by the way.
Quite good. I mean,
Connor,
I
are
think
you going to join us? You going to join us in this, or you just? Yes.
I'm still on this. I'm still on the smoke.
What did you say, Darren?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually, this could be our next release, Darren. It's better than all 4 of them. Yeah, charge twice as much.
No, I know what your next release is, and I'm like
Yeah.
on board with the next release. Thank you very much.
Morrison with friends. I love it.
Morris.
Branded
Morris.
Yeah, sorry, Morris. Sorry, Morris with friends.
Yeah. Oh, that is brilliant.
But you're right, though. I think we all touched on it. There's a bit of underlaying kind of smoke, subtle smoke. There's the sweetness and the spice of the fortified wines, and then I'm with you, Darren. There's a bit like a white chocolate, or there's some sort of like a really nice, delicate chocolate in the background playing around too. So it's very drinkable.
It's smoky. It's smoky, sweet, and smooth.
So smoky.
Yeah.
And delicious. Like this is. I think you could call this the orgasm bottle.
Yes.
One of the things I've loved about Morris I interviewed Darren and Mike, gosh, it would be 3 years ago now, I think.
Yeah,
3 years ago.
So long ago.
So long ago, when they were first out in Australia. And one of the first things that we noticed was the quality that is accessible at an accessible price point for Australia. A lot of the little distilleries, and when I say little, Australia's got micro distilleries compared to the States and the UK. And what we're seeing is quite a high price point from Australians. So we're talking 200 plus a bottle, and some of those are 500ml bottles. And on the old podcast that I was on, we used to say that we needed more mid-sized to larger Australian distilleries to come out, purely to be able to drop the price point for more accessibility for the world to see what Australian whiskey is. And when I heard that Morris went international, I think that's exactly on the money from where we were saying that we needed mid-sized to larger distilleries to come into play. And Morris have really, from an Australian standpoint, have come in and hit that mark, hit it at an accessible price point in Australia. It's really good whiskey. And then taken it to the world. So you're not just in America. Where else have you gone to, guys?
We're in the UK. Taiwan are drinking a lot of our whiskies. They love whiskey over there, as you know. Canada, we're in New Zealand. About to hit France and Germany as well. So we're kind of slowly creeping outside of Australia. But yeah, like I think in the US, I mean, $60 for a whiskey is still quite expensive, but it does.
I mean, it's median over here, though. I mean, for a decent whiskey, it's not that bad, especially if you're talking about a single malt. Malt, you're spending. I mean, unless you just want to blow your fucking esophagus out, I mean, you're spending about $50 for one anyway. So $60 to me is almost median now for a pretty good whiskey.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously we feel that the quality stacks up, but it does sit around, all those New World whiskies. You're getting whiskies from different parts of the world now. There's this New World whiskey category growing, and it is around the $50 to $60 to $70 price point. I think it's just so people can discover whiskies from different countries and get to really understand what an Australian whiskey is. because the newness and the kind of the coolness of a different whiskey from somewhere is, something that obviously people just want to explore and they're attracted to. So, but yeah, I'm glad. I mean, Connor, I'm going to have to get you another smoked musket. I'm going to write down. Thank you for your kind words and feedback. It's pretty mind blowing after all the whiskeys you must drink to get that sort of.
Totally I keep this is a glass I keep smelling because I will say the taste is very different from the nose. Not to say the taste is bad. I love it. This is my favorite of the four by far.
Yeah, but, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this nose is like so. My favorite whiskey of all time is a single barrel from a craft distillery out here called Wilderness Trail, and that to me is straight root beer float. Alex doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'll have to. I guess she is gonna take me on our first date. She's gonna pay, obviously, because she's a celebrity, and we're gonna get.
That makes no money from what I do.
And, this nose reminds me like almost exactly like it, but there is a bit of a smoke, like a barbecue smoke to it. I keep smelling it because I'm just like, this is amazing. So yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said that. This is like up there for me for like if I smell a whiskey, I want to just keep sniffing it. I am going to keep sniffing it until I go to bed.
And sorry to all those in the States that are listening that you can't get this one yet because Darren destroyed too many barrels to make it. So
Darren, what an asshole, Darren.
No, I agree with Connor. It's one of my favorite whiskeys as well. And we are, just so you know, we are looking at getting a small consignment of this whiskey to the US in the next 6 months. I'll definitely get Connor you another bottle. I can try and put some in my suitcase next time I'm over there. Or when Alex is heading up for your first date, she can bring over a bottle.
Oh wait, when is Alex heading over? We need to know this.
Book me flights, mate, and I'll go.
Hold on. Let's just put it this way. Send Alex over with some Morris whiskey, and she can do the bourbon ball tasting, and you guys will get all your whiskeys highlighted.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, she can hand out samples at the bourbon ball.
Oh, we're not handing out samples. She's gonna have to wear a gown. Listen, this is at a castle, guys. It's very.
She's got to be working. She's got to be behind the bar.
No, she's not behind the bar. She's going to run the tasting. She's going to be in front. She's going to tell the story of the distillery and the brand. And then she gets to walk through the tasting and all that. Like, we've just solved the problem. Alex gets to come. Again. You just buy her flight. I'll pay for a hotel. There you go.
We'll give you the whiskey. No worries.
Again, I don't work for the brand. I'm just championing it because I think it's a fantastic way.
You do. You got a room at the hotel. After that, you and Connor can share a queen size bed in my house. We're all set up.
Stop. My beautiful man that I live with will definitely want to be involved in that. What the hell? Come on.
Anyway, well, if you don't make it,
it's fine.
If Alex doesn't make it to the bourbon ball, you can get Morrison Reserve Bar as well. If anyone wants to find it in the US,
far out.
You can't make it there, but
what states are you in?
Good question. That's a really good question. So I'm going to tell you right now. So we're in Illinois, Northern California, Jersey, Southern California, so California, Colorado, Georgia, Washington, New York, Mass, Texas, and Wisconsin as well.
Oh, yeah.
So Connor can definitely get it. I cannot.
So you can, yeah. I mean, we're on Reserve Bar in all those states as well. We are also looking at distribution with Total Wines as well over the next 6 months. And Reserve Bar is usually the safest bet.
If you need someone to help you guys in the States, I'm on board because this stuff is amazing.
Good.
Mate, I'll take you up on that for sure.
I'm not even kidding when I tell you from a single malt perspective, and I have a decent amount of single malt. I would put this up against any Scotch single malt that I've had, blended or otherwise. I think this is phenomenal. This has there's smoky elements, there's sweet elements, there's chocolate notes. By the way, blend this together and make a bottle because you should, and it'd be amazing. Look, if nothing else, just do one bottle and send it over for the bourbon ball, and we'll auction it off because it'll be amazing. Yeah. This is this little blend over here shows kind of Alex. It's like the brand identity in a bottle, and there's so much to this, and there's so much creativity. I mean, this blows me away and how good this is. And I don't want to save these to like the fall for when it's cold again, but I might have to, because this is like single malt is like my jam when it gets cold in like October. But these are so delicious. You guys are onto something. And I think if you get the right branding and the right people in the United States to champion this, I think you guys are going to win a lot of people over, because especially if you're engaging as a brand, because right now the big brands don't just being honest with you guys, the big brands don't give a shit about normal people. COVID's over, right? No one cares about any of that shit. Yeah. The big brands don't care about that as much now. So now if you guys are an engaging brand and really like bring those people in and like and appreciate them, I think you guys can make a really big inroad really quick.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate the feedback on the liquid. That's obviously all Darren's work. But yeah, when the liquid gets the response like that, we're pretty pleased to hear that we're ticking a few boxes. So once again, thank you both for your kind, honest feedback. It's amazing.
Where can they find your website and your social media and everything like that?
Yeah, no, 100%. So it's just morriswhiskey.com.
Whiskey without an E.
Oh, yeah, whiskey with no E on our whiskey. So morriswhiskey.com. And then obviously there are our social pages as well, Morris Whiskey on Instagram. You can follow that, but you can't order directly from our website, but 100% you can pick up through the reserve bar in the US as well.
Awesome. Connor's been so quiet this podcast.
Hey, Darren, if Mike sends me over a bottle, can you sign it for me?
Well, I can get some more over for you. If you want to do something with the bourbon ball, like just let us know. Give me your thoughts, and we can.
We're down to play with anything on that one, man. We can talk about that one offline. But I mean, this is delicious stuff. I'm not gonna lie, this is phenomenal. I'm never
gonna send you shit, Paul and Connor.
What? You just send us great shit.
Yeah, thank you.
You just said,
hey, Alex,
now you're never going to send us anything? What the fuck, Alex?
It's good shit. What?
Yes. Now you're like, you're never going to send us anything. What the fuck, Alex?
No, I said I'm never going to send you anything that's shit.
Oh, well, okay.
I'll hook you up with anything that's shit.
I'm sorry. I apologize. That's after like if you saw, hang on.
I got you brand connected the good shit.
I'm on glass number 10, so I didn't hear. It's fine. We're fine. I'm anyway,
it's been a pleasure being back with you guys.
Alex,
really?
you can say where your fucking social media is. Follow Alex on social media. She won't respond to any of your messages and won't follow you back though. Tell everybody where they can follow you, Alex.
If you follow us, we'll respond to Morris.
Yeah, there you go.
That's because you have a brand team. I'm just whiskey culture without an E.
Whiskey culture. Follow for absolutely no engagement, no DMs, and a big fat fuck off from Alex. Thank you, Mike and Darren, for joining us. I'm sorry that you had to bring Alex into this.
I'm sorry,
Alex, we love you so much. Close your mouth, honey, before a bird flies into it or something. This was amazing. I'm so happy that we got to do this. This was amazing. Alex, we're just giving you shit because we love you and we haven't seen you in forever. And literally, if you would just hang out and talk with us more and do lives, you wouldn't get this much, because this is like 6 months worth of back shit that you normally would get for over the course of like every live once a week.
I'm glad you got that all out there.
Yeah, right. Okay, I knew this was going to come out on a podcast. Like, it could have come out on a personal chat. I needed 6 months off, all right? Just give me a break. But it was awesome being back with you guys. And I just want to say I'm going to swear now. Sorry, Mike and Darren. It was fucking awesome to finally bring you guys some Australian whiskey. And
it's fucking amazing.
You love it to boot. So
love it.
Yeah,
I'm on the Morris bandwagon. I love it, and I'm so glad that you guys
what we need to do
finally got it.
Is do this again, but find a way to get you guys some of our barrel pick for the bourbon ball, and then see what you guys think about what we did.
Right.
100%. We'd love to do it again. We can sort of send you some other. We've got some new releases under Morris as well, so we're happy to send a few more.
Whenever you guys want to come on the show, you are always welcome, and we don't have to bring Alex. We can just have a.
We won't tell Alex. We'll find out later.
It's all right, Alex. I'll invite you.
Thank you, Connor. I knew you'd come to bat for me eventually.
You'll invite her, but she won't respond. So, hey-o. Thanks everyone for listening. Remember, a bourbon with friends can change the world.